You know what's crazy is that it is 2 a.m. when I'm recording this, and I just feel like talking and doing this episode. So let's have fun with this 2 a.m. brain. Because you can never trust yourself after 9 p.m.
And here's to the beginning.
I'll drink to that.
Why, Johnny Ringo.
Hello, I'm Johnny Cash.
I know exactly what I'm doing, and I can change it at any time.
I'm your huckleberry.
Outlaw loose and running came the whisper from each lip, and he's here to do some business with the big iron on his hip.
Incoming the Rambling Podcast, with your hosts, Conway Chats and Stony Robbins.
Howdy, hey, cowpokes, and welcome back to another episode of the Ramblin' Podcast. I'm your host, Conway Chats. Not joined, but with me is our co-host, Stony Robbins. He's not joined with us. We're still continuing the Conway Chats, aka some solo episodes. If you've been listening to these past episodes, congrats, you know what's going on. But Stony will be back with us at the beginning of August. We're just giving him a nice little break and some time off so he doesn't have to ramble into a microphone for everybody. But yeah, like I said at the very beginning of this episode, this is 2 a.m. Okay, 2 a.m. brain. All right, listen. I got this idea. I was laying in bed watching Whose Line Is It Anyways? And I got this idea of like, oh, what am I gonna do the podcast to be? Because I had some other stuff written down, and I was just like, none of that's I don't want to talk about it this time. There's certain topics we've said in the past. There's certain topics that we'll be like, oh, we want to do this week, and then that day comes to record, and we're like, not really feeling that. So what I had originally planned, I just wasn't feeling it, wasn't feeling it at all. So like I said, as I'm sitting there. God, I already feel like I'm all over the place. I keep saying, like I said, blah, 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 blah. Just words out of my brain, okay? But I was watching Whose Line Is It Anyway? And I got the idea to do, questions. And I know it's so last minute, so I wasn't able to, ask, the listeners, hey, ask me different types of questions and I'll give you advice. Because at first I was like, ooh, I could do an advice episode, but I think I'll do that for another time. But because I was like, I didn't have enough questions that you guys were wanting to ask me, so I can answer it for you guys. You know what I mean? And then I thought, what about just questions in general? And then I started Googling questions to ask people, and then it turned into small talk questions. And that's kind of where the brainstorm kind of started. Is small talk for me is very difficult because I'm good at answering questions and I'm good at continuing conversation. I'm weird about starting combos because I don't know what people are comfortable talking about. I'm comfortable talking about pretty much anything and everything. People are not comfortable talking about certain things, so it's always the same small talk questions of how you doing? How's the weather? You come here often, etc. Things like that. So I basically Googled a bunch of small talk questions that pertain to work, environments, conversations with people you're closer with. I just compiled a list of 30 questions, and I thought it would be fun for this episode for you guys to feel like you're asking me these questions and then I'm answering them for you. Since this is an episode pretty much all about me, might as well. I think it would be fun. And then I think in the future I'll take the time to gather your guys' questions if you need advice or you just want to hear me answer some. But in the future, we'll have your guys' actual questions, and I'll be able to tell your guys' your username and shit like that. But yeah, these are just random questions I found on the internet, and I thought they'd be fun to answer. And a lot of them were making my brain kind of spin a little bit more, being like, "Oh, okay." And I kept getting ideas from it, and then I kept finding better questions. So, there are definitely questions I can answer, and questions that I'm like, "Oh yeah, here's the answer." But also, guys, remember, it's 2 a.m. right now. Like, I'm recording this at 2 a.m. I on an impulse just because I really felt like talking about it. And then I'm probably gonna go to sleep after I get done with this. I just was like, "This is a great idea. I'm gonna do it now. I don't feel like recording later." And then when my mind gets set on something, like, I gotta do it and gotta finish it. So, yeah. Let's let's dive into our small talk questions, shall we? So, yeah, you guys are let's pretend you guys are the ones asking me the questions, and I'm gonna answer them casually to you and tell stories or however it goes, and then that's our conversations, all right? So, we can just play pretend here, all right? So, first question is, if you weren't working here, what would you probably be doing right now? I love this question. So as you guys know, I'm a full-time content creator and spicy worker, sex worker, however you want to put it. If I wasn't doing this, I think I would be ranching. 100%. I'd be farming and ranching. That's what I want to do. So that's what I would be doing if I wasn't doing what I was doing now. And I eventually want to get to where I'm doing both. So I would definitely still be a full-time content creator. But I also want to be able to start ranching and farming and like meshing them together. Because I just think that would be such a good time. And yeah, that's what I would be doing um if I wasn't, putting out content for myself and doing all this. Like, I would add in farming and ranching with it and just ag shit in general. Like, I don't know. I feel like that's such a big goal of mine and Stoney's that we can't wait to get there. And eventually in the future, manifesting this, that, we'll have our uh bison ranch and our farm animals and our acres and everything that we want and have been dreaming about, and especially things that I've been dreaming about since I was little. One day we hope to achieve that and get to that. Next question. What surprised you the most about your current job? Oh, how crazy. I'm not gonna say crazy because I don't want to use that word. How intense, obsessive, and like various people's likes and dislikes can be in this industry when it comes to like what people are wanting. Finding out that things are way more common than you think. Getting surprised with just uh people's needs on the daily. It's definitely a job where there's always a surprise, and then you kind of become numb to it where you're like, "Oh yeah, that's normal, I guess." It is definitely a very weird industry. And if you want to hear my stories about it, we talked about it in the fetish episodes. I tell some stories about different fetishes and kind of my environment in this industry and everything like that. But it definitely is very surprising, especially when it's people that you know of, or especially people, like, use their real names and shit like that. Like, it's people that you know in a sense of, like, when they become fans or followers or whatever, and then you find out their needs, like, that's a wild one. When you just find out people's secret kinks, 'cause like I said, it's also, like, you are a therapist in a way too, because people feel so like they trust you so much to be able, like, when people are buying content too, they're also kind of buying the whole package of like let's say that. So like somebody buys my content and then they're chatting with me, and then like people start divulging their likes and dislikes, like just what they fantasize about and things that they would not tell other people, but they'll tell sex workers. Like, that's so common in this industry. So that's something that really does surprise me almost every day, is like, especially when it's people that I know or I'm familiar with them in a sense. It's definitely falls under like quote unquote patient doctor confidentiality. You know what I mean? Like, when people divulge and tell me their fantasies and all these things, 99% of the time it's kept to just me. unless they ask for permission to, like, for me to share it and shit. But most of the time it's like me and that other person, and they're just spewing their desires out, and I'm just like, okay, that's awesome. Sometimes they ask for advice if they're exploring new topics in like a new environment. And I think that's really cool there. So yeah, if you have things you would like to confess, please feel free to join my pages and talk to me about them, because I'm sure I've heard it all. It's very, very, a lot of things are very common, way more common than you will think. So, what's the best career advice you've ever received? Oh, that one I think is a harder one. And it's so generic and so cliche, but it's like, if you want it, you're gonna have to want it, and you're gonna have to want it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You're gonna have to want to have this lifestyle, especially for content creating and sex work. Like, you have to be able to balance yourself extremely well, but you have to make sure that that balance is balanced, and it'll take a while for you to understand what I mean by balance if you're joining into this or you're still struggling with it. It's like you have to figure out when to go and when to pause, and every day is different. And if you're not up for something like that, then this it definitely is not the type of like career for you. It's extremely hard. It's extremely unpredictable. It's so many ups and downs constantly 24/7. Um Feeling behind, but feeling ahead, all these emotions, like, it's the craziest thing. So just be prepared and, like, know how to hang on. That's the easiest thing I could tell you, is just, like, make sure that you are balancing yourself while you're doing all this, because if you can't balance yourself, you're definitely gonna fall off, and then all the hard work that you did is just, like, gone. And if you fall off also, it's like, dude, get the fuck back on. Like, you can do it. I don't know, it's hard to coming from this industry though. It's like the that's my best advice, is just like balance is definitely balance that I've ever heard. It's like, make sure you have the work-life balance, you have your mental health and your physical balance. Um, just honestly things of that nature. If you find that balance, then it makes this whole thing a little less stressful. Like, hell, even now I still try to do it every now and then, and try to do my balance and experiment every now and then, and you eventually get to where you're like comfortable pushing your boundaries of like work overload. And then you feel like you do too much, and then you have to like take it back a bit, and then you feel like you took it back too much. It's like I said, it's 24/7, 365, like constant, all of the time, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And if you can handle it, congrats to you, because it's really hard, and not a lot of people make it very far in this industry, or very long, because of how tedious, tumultuous, and just agonizing this career is. So what's the worst? Worst advice would be just carbon copying yourself from somebody else. I think that's the worst advice anyone's ever said. It's just like stealing somebody else's entire ideas, identity. You know what I mean? Like, when it comes to like personas, or um the exact way that they word captions or pictures, or just anything to where it's like you're literally a carbon copy from somebody else's ideas, and you like tweaked it just a little bit. Like, no, please don't do that. Please stay original with your content, of anything in general too. Like, there's only one you. Why do you want to be like everybody else? You know what I mean? So, question 4. Are you reading any good books right now? If you want some recommendations, for books. Oh, goodness. So, I've been reading a lot of comic books recently, and I've been reading all of the Batman Who Laughs kind of, numbered comic book series in order and stuff like that. Like, I've been diving more into reading picture books, in a sense, because I felt like for so long growing up and throughout high school and college, like, I never really dived into that. I was mainly reading like thick ass books and long books all of the fucking time. Like nothing that like I felt like I was just told all the time like comic books are just stupid and dumb and you should be reading this, you should be reading something else. And that's kind of what it felt like for a long time until I learned that like how much fun I have reading comic books. So I've been doing a lot of things that I've been reading books from like middle school that I really enjoyed reading. So I read all of the Bone books. I read the entire Bone book series. It's so good. It's just as good as I remember being it. And that's a comic book style. So I've also reread Dunk by David Lubar. It was one of my favorite books in middle school, and I read that so much, so I literally purchased it. And now it's on my bookshelf, and I just really enjoy that book. It's such a good book. Highly recommend reading it. You'll get through it pretty fast, but it's only 270 something pages. Um, but it just brings back so many good memories of me reading it and enjoying the first time I read. And then I read like I said, the Bone books from Jeff Smith. I believe it's Jeff Smith. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's Jeff Smith. Yeah, it is Jeff Smith. All right. I just had to double check there because I was like, oh my God. But yeah, all the Bone cartoon books by Jeff Smith are really good. Let me look I actually have like a whole library of books that I'm wanting to read. I actually have all of the Adventure of the Bailey Schools kids sets that I want to read, which are like, Dracula doesn't drink lemonade, dragons don't cook, ghosts don't eat potato chips, um vampires don't wear polka dots. What else do we have here? This is crazy to like look at these. Just yeah, the Adventures of the Bailey School Kids, by Debbie Dady. Those are a lot of books I read when I was younger, and I like have been wanting to reread them, and that's been really exciting. Like I said, I've been trying to reread a lot of the books that I read in middle school. So I have a giant list on Amazon that I call the library, and it's just books of like books I also want to read. So like I'll read you some of my like ones that I'm dying to read. I obviously want to read The Diaries of Alan Rickman, which is his biography, and I want to read that so bad. I love Alec Alan Rickman so much. I also want to read Val Kilmer's I'm Your Huckleberry memoir. I think that'd be a really good book to read. Um, as well. And then I have like a lot of like R-rated books that I've been finding on Book Talk, which have just been like really crazy, the super sexy, basically full-on fanfic books in a sense, kinky talk, shit like that. So there's a tons of those that I've kind of been adding that I eventually like, ooh, I want those. La 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 la. Can't wait to read those. I wanna read, more graphic novels too, so, like, I have V for Vendetta, like, that's another, graphic novel I wanna read. I wanna read Watchmen, I wanna start reading that too. There's yeah, it's different things that I wanna read all of Nick Offerman's books, so he has, like, Paddle Your Own Canoe, Good Clean Fun, Misadventures in Sawdust, At the Offerman Wood Shop. He has Gumption, and then so like all of Nick Offerman books would be really fun to read. I want to read Elvira's Yours Cruelly. That's like the number one book on my list that I think I'm going to get really soon, because I do want to read her memoir and it's just absolutely insane. Black Hole is another graphic novel that I was highly recommended. And it's really chaotic and dark and just gory as shit, and I can't wait to read that. Black Hole by Charles Burns. I have some Native American books that I want to read. This is How You Lose the Time War. What else we got here? There's just obviously Trixie and Katya's both books. I want to read those. Huge book that it keeps going up and down on prices, so it's finally at a decent price. But it's called It Came from the Closet: Queer Reflections on Horror by Joe Vallacy. I think that's how you pronounce that name. Anyways, that's a big book that I really want to read. Uh, what else? Let me look at my little list here. It's the Children of the Lamp series. Oh my god, by PB Kerr. That was those were another series that I read so much, and that absolutely is like 100% can't wait to buy those. But some of the books are expensive, are very expensive to buy. Um, but Children of the Lamp was so fucking good. It was so good. What else we got in this little list? There's a ton of stuff that I'm just like skipping over. Um, I think In on the Joke, the original Queens of Stand-Up Comedy by Sean Levy would be a really, really, really good read. I have a lot of like Cherokee Nation books, and just indigenous books as well. Whether it's just like little science books or encyclopedias, things like that. So it's nothing like crazy. And then there's a lot of cookbooks that I have that I want to as well, that are on there. But yeah, that's kind of my list of like I'm sure I'm leaving tons and tons out, but that's kind of my list of books that I want to read. Um, and I have in my library different things like that. Nothing too crazy. I just gave a giant list, but you know what I mean. Okay. So, are there any apps on your phone that you can't live without? I have a few that I always have like dove into when it comes to like, let's just say work in general. Obviously, the social media is like, duh, that's like fucking obvious. But PixArt is where I edit a lot of my photos in a sense of like just putting filters on them. The only thing I put on my on my photos are like filters to like change the colors of things, of like to make the lighting look a little bit more 70s or retro-esque, or to make it more warm. Like it's basic editing. But PixArt is what I use a lot because they have some really good retro style filters and good warm tones that I like to add to a bunch of my stuff. And then Canva is like my number one. That's how I make all my flyers. Um, basically like schedules, anything that is work related. I'm using Canva. It's so nice to use. You can also edit tons of photos on there if you feel like it. It's just a nice platform to use, and PixArt's so good for videos, so that's kind of what I use. Let me look at my phone here. What else we got? I obviously got streaming. We got all of the regular apps, social media apps. Um, you got like I have my podcast app, which lets me see everything from all my podcast platforms and like make sure everything's posted and nothing like that. So for more editing, like what I use my Twitch videos with, like once I clip my Twitch videos, I used a Stream Kit. That's an app that basically you can just um clip your it integrates your Twitch clips already, so then you just click on them and it pulls it up, and then you can make them into like TikTok or reel format, shorts format for YouTube, things like that. Super easy. And then captions is another thing that I use for the podcast, or really any video I want to make sure has captions on it. It's such a good app. It's just literally called Captions. It has like a black logo with a little white circle thing. But yeah, that's what I use for all the kind of podcast little clips that I make and things like that. Those are the kind of combos I'll do, like PixArt and then captions, and then that's it. It's pretty simple, pretty self-explanatory. Other than that, not much. Like on the work phone, it's mainly, like I said, social medias and streaming, things to watch. But there's nothing like, oh my god, I have to have, except for, definitely the PixArt and the captions, I think, and Canva. Like those are my three big ones for businesses and things, like even just like, social medias and stuff. It really Canva's like my number one for sure. What's a book you hated that everyone else loved? Twilights. All the Twilight series. When those came out, I like, oh my god, I didn't understand the fucking hype. Like I love Twilight now because it's so fun to watch Twilight now, but as it was happening, oh my god, I could not understand why everyone was so upset. Like I still don't know why everyone was like so obsessed with like Edward and was just like, "Oh my god, he's so hot," especially when it's like Robert Pattinson. I didn't get it. I didn't get the hype of it. I didn't understand the books. Like I thought the book like the books were good, but I wasn't like, "Oh my god, they made a giant movies out of all these books, and every time you try to read these books, they're out of the library because everyone's, checked them out, and it's gonna be weeks for you to get it." And then when I finally read it, I was just like, "Wow, this is what everyone was, like, truly obsessed over." But yeah, Twilight. Twilight was a book that I did not like at all, and everyone else was obsessed with it. Oh my god. Y'all remember that shit? Oh, good times, good times. Do you have any podcast suggestions for my commute? Yeah, I actually do. I actually have quite a bit. So if you aren't listening to obviously the Ramblin' podcast, hello, make sure you are listening to us. Um we're a fun time, okay? We really are. So let me look at my podcast and shows that I listen to. So my number one podcast is the Last Podcast on the Left. If you have not listened to the Last Podcast on the Left, you've probably been living under a rock, or you just don't like conspiracies and crime and horror. Like I am not a true crime junkie. I don't listen to any of that shit. Like that's not my cup of tea. I just really like the Last Podcast on the Left because Ben, Marcus, and Henry are so fucking funny, and I have a giant crush on Ben Kissel. So yeah, Marcus Parks, Ben Kissel, and Henry Zabrowski are the hosts of the Last Podcast on the Left. They are my favorite podcast. Um, I just enjoy listening to them for hours on end because they are genuinely hilarious and they bring such a different vibe and have been for a very long time about serial killers and conspiracies and like weird shit that happened and has happened, just things like that. So if you haven't listened to them, check them out. I listen to the Always Sunny podcast, which is the cast from, It's Always Sunny. So that's a pretty um podcast that I do enjoy listening to every now and then. Where the fuck is my I'm like trying to there we go. Okay, there we go. So I've been recently listening to the Ned's Declassified podcast, which is the uh Cookie, Ned, and Moe's from Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide. They have a podcast out, and I've been listening to that, and that's been really fun to listen to. They basically are like rewatching their episodes, and then they talk about it, and they do behind the scenes, and it's been really fun because that was like a show that I watched all of the time, all of the fucking time. Oh my god, it's so good. So next, it's called Kinky History. It's a brand new podcast by Esme Louise James. She does a whole like her TikTok is full of kinky history. She just started her podcast, so it already has, doesn't have like hundreds of episodes like some podcasts do. But it's so fucking great. Oh my god, it's so great. I love watching her videos. And I really enjoy her vibe and just bringing knowledge, and it's kind of where we got the idea, but where we really draw on the inspiration of our Sexual Deviance of History series. Is just the knowledge and research that Esme has, and all her majors, and basically degrees that she has in this knowledge that is very limited to us as well. Next is called the Country Brothers. It is a good favorite of mine. Is to black country cowpokes that talk about shit, and they're hilarious and they're funny. They're actually twins, so I think that's really cool because you could always have like people be on podcasts together and they don't really mesh, but when you're twins and your brothers, obviously, like you're gonna be able to mesh a lot easier. Um, but yeah, I think their podcast is really good. I listen to them quite a bit, so you should definitely check out. They're literally called the Country Brothers. You can just on their like site or the like Spotify list, it just says Country Brothers. So it's like two neon signs that are kind of look like rodeo clowns in a sense. That's them. Because I'm sure if you type in Country Brothers, you're gonna get like a bajillion things. So yeah, Country Brothers podcast. I listened to the Steak and Eggs podcast. which is also just like a really funny uh podcast about like gaming, anime, and like pop culture or shit like that. Like it's genuinely also hilarious. My one of my newer favorites that I've discovered are called Ninjas Are Butterflies. It's a comedy podcast for sure. It's hilarious. Like the things that they talk about are just insane. Um and off the wall, and sometimes they'll like get really into something and they just say shit off. I can't explain it. You'll just have to listen to Ninjas Are Butterflies. So what else we got here? Scrolling through. Uh I obviously listened to like Hey Babe by Sal and Chris. You know, one was as a comedian and the other, I mean they're both comedians, but Sal from Impractical Jokers. But Hey Babe is really fun to listen to. Stoney and I both like watching that. I usually like more watching them on YouTube if we're gonna watch anything. I think that's great. I listened to Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend. That's a really fun podcast I like to listen to. Fly on the Wall with Dana Carvey and David Spade. One of my favorite podcasts, easily top podcasts. So like last podcast and left, and then it's Fly on the Wall. It's so great because it's like I said, it's Dana Carvey and David Spade, and they bring and talk about SNL. So Saturday Night Live. They bring on their past coworkers and they talk about skits and behind the scenes of SNL. And me and Stoney are huge SNL fans. I've seen every single Saturday Night Live episode since it started. So I know a lot about SNL history and just kind of the gimmicks and the characters, and it's truly one of my favorite shows. So it's so cool to see two of my other fave comedians be able to talk about their favorite things or like skits that they went through, and that's just really, really, really good for me to have and to listen to. So I highly recommend that. What else we got? We got like, common things that are super popular. There's podcasts that, hasn't made anything since like 2021. So I try not to include those. Not we just said last podcast on the left. Hippies and Cowboys podcast is one of my faves too as well, with Mike and Garrett. Make sure you check them out. Hippies and Cowboys. They have insane interviews with some really cool musicians and just people in general. They have a lot of knowledge, and I think it's important to also, if you're like in the country western environment, to also listen to them as well. Same with The Thicket, which is another kind of spin from the Hippies and Podcast Network, or the Hippies and Cowboys Network, I guess. But yeah, highly recommend those. Can't leave them out. They'd be mad if I did. I love listening to Ear Biscuits with Rhett and Link from Good Mythical More and Morning. If you don't know who Rhett and Link are, come on, get with the program. They've been OGs since, the beginning of YouTube. That's a really fun podcast for me to listen to. They always have that, but we try to watch that if we can. There's some that we don't just like necessarily listen to while we're driving. Obviously, Two Bears, One Cave with Tom Segura and Bert Kreischer. Monday Morning Podcast with Bill Burr. That's one of Stoney's favorites. And just, yeah, that's, I kind of like rambled. I feel like I'm totally missing out a lot. Like I'm totally skipping over some, but that's just a handful of maybe things you should listen to on your commute, or maybe I give you a new podcast to listen to. It's so much just me rambling, guys. All right, I'm answering your questions. I have like 30 questions and I'm already on question 8. All right, so question 8: who's your favorite person to follow on Instagram? I feel like that's also a really hard one for me, because I do follow a lot of really cool people. Let me just pull it up. Like I said, this is 2 a.m. brain. We are just pulling it up. So let's see. I mean, most of them are like people that are my mutuals or I'm friends with, and they're musicians. And different things like that. So I'm trying to like go through them and kind of sort through people that I like and everything, and also like kind of mix through different creators, and like I don't want to just like name things. So let me try to find uh people that I would like think that you guys would also like their page. I think you guys would like Honky Tonk Mom on Instagram. If you like 70s style stuff, her entire like home is decorated and her whole aesthetic is just 70s country 70s, and it's just such a cool vibe, and it's so warm and cozy, and I can't wait to go visit her one day and just sit in her living room and watch VHSs. Like I just enjoy her account so much. It's just such a she has just such a cool vibe to her. I think that's a really good account. I think you guys would really like to follow if you like cozy content like that. Oh my god, this is so difficult. It's so difficult for me to like figure out what my faves are because I should have done this earlier. Let me do like most shonen feed. What do I have here? If you do like look through my followers and then go like the latest, and then you guys will see who I really enjoy following. There's this one girl. She does makeup, and it's like absolutely insane. And I'm trying to figure out. I cannot remember her fucking name. It's like every time you go to do something, then you remember, oh shit, that was that person's name. That's how I feel, and I don't want to go away. And then I feel like, oh my god, I just missed it. What the fuck, you know? Here we go. Tyra MUA. Oh my god, her videos are so creative. She's like does makeup so well, but like the editing on her videos and just how she does everything is just so phenomenal. I think she's so amazing with her work. It's just like incredible how she does it. And then also I would highly recommend Patagonia, which is a drag queen. She's a drag queen that goes like uh hiking in full drag and is super into the outdoors and really like respects nature and promotes nature and wildlife. And I just think like that her page is so cool because she's always like in fucking 6-inch platform heels and full wig and makeup and outfit and everything, like suspended off fucking cliffs and mountaintops, and it's just like the coolest fucking thing because like I can't even do that shit out of drag, but this bitch is just doing the damn thing. So highly recommend that. Another good like makeup creative person would be Cream Fatale. She's amazing. Her makeup looks are just crazy and so cute, and I do really appreciate things of that nature, obviously. And then like it's too hard for me to name because I have too many faves. And some of them are just creators, some of them are brands, and so yeah, I'll stop torturing myself trying to look through things. If you guys want to just look through who I'm following on Instagram, um, and sort by latest, and you'll just see like a lot of people that I follow. Just go through my list, and you'll find some pretty cool fucking people. Let me tell you who what. So question 9, what's my go-to comfort food? I'm very big on like veggie trays. So like cucumbers and celery, broccoli, carrots, put some ranch on it, some tomatoes. I will devour a veggie tray. And when I get like stressed out or I'm feeling like gross, definitely a veggie tray is like one way to help kind of get me feeling a lot better. I would say like mashed potatoes 100% really do it for me with some sort of protein, like an actual meat substance, whether that's like pork chops, ham, steak, chicken, anything like that. But just like potatoes in general, let's just say potatoes in general, because like holy shit, I could eat potatoes 100 million different ways and I would never get bored of them because I love fucking potatoes so much. And then I would have to say the next would have to be chicken and dumplings. I feel like that's everyone's kind of comfort food, but I do love a good chicken and dumplings and or a shepherd's pie, but that also kind of falls into with mashed potatoes, but you know what I mean. I would say that those are my go-to comforts for sure. Question 10. Are there any foods that you absolutely would not eat? Yes. I do not like pickles. I do like I do not like mayo. I do not like mustard. So no pickles, no mustard. I'm not a big fan of bananas. Um, Pretty much everything else I'll eat. Like pickle. Oh, and mayo. So no pickles, no mustard, no mayonnaise, limited amount of banana. I'm not a big banana person. There's like flavorings I don't like. So like I love grapes and grape flavoring. I like green apples, but I do not like the green apple flavoring. I think it's so nasty and I'm just like, "Heh, no thank you." But yeah, those are my big no-nos. Mustard, mayo, and pickles. I just can't. I do not like pickles. I know a lot of people are like, "Oh my god, what the fuck?" No, I love cucumbers, but there's something about pickles that just I can't. I really physically can't. They smell weird to me. They taste disgusting. I've tried tons of pickles. I just can't do it, y'all. I just fucking can't do it. Question 11. What's the coolest road trip you've ever been on? Coolest road trip. Well, we did our camper adventure, and that was pretty crazy. You can listen to that episode that we put out. So if I would say like coolest road trip, I would have to say it was on when Stoney and I got married, and we were in Colorado, and we had to drive. I mean, it's not really a road trip, but like it was like 2.5 hours, 2 hours one way. Um, was when we were driving after we got married and it just got done blizzarding and the snow melted enough for us to drive. Um, Driving to a buffalo ranch and then spending like the rest of the afternoon at a buffalo ranch for our wedding was pretty fucking sick. That was a really pretty drive. Um, and where we were at looked very similar to Oklahoma and it was just kind of like a homey feeling and I just really enjoyed um that. So that was like my I would say favorite road trip, and we'll put road trip small because every road trip I've ever had has been like long one has been absolutely fucking miserable. Absolutely miserable. Question 12. Where's the last place you traveled and what did you do there? So the last place that we actually traveled and took a trip to, like I said, would have to be um over 2 years ago when we went to Colorado. And we got married. We went to Colorado Springs or Florissant, Colorado, and we ended up getting stuck in a blizzard. And then we went to Colorado Springs for a little bit. We were just kind of in the Colorado area, and it was really pretty and really enjoyed that. But that was 2 years ago. That was the last trip we've been on, which is like sad to think about. Like that was a while ago, and we haven't been able to like actually go on a trip or anything like that at all, which sucks. But hopefully, we can do some more in the future. What did you think you were going to be when you grew when I what did you th- what did you think you were going to be growing up? I love this question because growing up I always wanted to be like I always knew I was going to be quote unquote famous. I always knew I was going to be known for something. It's weird. It's like you guys know what I'm talking about. Like when you are little, you kind of have a sense of like what you're going to do in your life and some people have a good intuitions of like how their life might turn out. And for me I always knew I was going to be known for something. I knew I was always going to be famous. And I use famous lightly because I'm not uber famous, but I am known worldwide in a sense of like I do have people that know me all around the world and in different countries and things like that. So I'll keep it like that. I'm not going to fucking suck my own dick here, all right? Um but I always knew I wanted it to be some sort of entertainer um of some sorts. Like I always watched and I knew I always wanted to do something too where like it sounds weird, but like get oogled at. And where I meant like I just looked at and stuff like that because I grew up watching, the early 2000s movies where all the girls were like super pretty and the guys were always checking them out and people were jealous and they were just like so good looking and just like watching Coyote Ugly and watching them dance on bars and just being super hot and things like that. Like I really fucking loved shit like that. I always wanted big boobs and uh wanted to, the Elvira and Dolly Parton persona type shit. Like that was something I always really enjoyed. Um growing up and throughout my life. And then as the internet came about and YouTube became popular and Instagram became popular and shit, like I just kind of grew on the fact of like I know I could do content creation. And that's grown into like streaming now and more into my sex work too. So it's like yeah, I always kind of knew I was going to be some sort of known for something. And I think that's pretty fucking cool that what I knew as a kid is turning into real life, and I think that's pretty dope. Pretty cool. What was your favorite extracurricular activity in elementary school? I was really into reading. Almost every year in elementary school. I think every year in elementary school, I was the top reader in the school. Back then when they had like AR points or RC points or wherever you're from, whatever they call like the points you have to get in school to like once you finish reading a book, you like take a little quiz for it. And then you get points for it. I read so much as a kid. I was always the number one reader um in my grade or in school at the time, like in whatever we were doing. Um and I would finish books like crazy, and I was reading levels ahead of like what I actually was reading. So I remember in first grade, I was already reading at like I would say a sixth grade or up level, which is pretty high. Um, and then as I got older, I developed more of a reading and I had a big comprehension on stuff. And then once I got into high school, I kind of took a break from reading because I felt like all I did my whole life pretty much was read. If I wasn't in sports, I was always reading, and I felt like I got burnt out of it, or I didn't think it was as cool anymore, or I was being like, I think it's more in the lines of I was being forced to read shit I didn't want to read, which kind of sucked. And then I had no time to read anything else that I actually wanted to read. So yeah, doing those like summer reading projects for like AP fucking lit and shit like that in high school was awful. Because it was just stuff like I don't feel like reading, but that was on the list to read. So I just didn't like that. And then in college, like having to study so hard for classes and stuff, not having the opportunity to read outside and dealing with a bunch of other stuff, like I kind of lost my love for reading. And then I started picking it up, I would say in like 2019 is when I really started picking up reading again. And then once the pandemic hit, like I'm sure all of us picked up hobbies that we did. I read a lot more during the pandemic. And then now that I'm married, I read quite often. Like I said, I gave you guys a list, whether it be like comic books or anything, or graphic novels and comic books, things like that. Like I have really fallen in love with reading. And just this last year, I found a more balanced kind of lifestyle to take my time to read. So, as you guys know, every December 22nd through January 22nd, I basically take a break from the internet and online and shit like that. And I just go offline and all I do is read. Since I'm not on my phone or anything like that, um, I just read and I catch up on shit. And I do some hobbies and different things like that. And it's very slow life. It's nice. It's very nice. What was the must-have accessory item when you were growing up? I don't really I didn't really like have one, but there is one year that I remember. I think it was like 7th or 8th grade year. It's like 2000 um 7, 2008, 2006, like mid 2000s, right? Everyone wore those giant fucking bows on their head, and it wasn't like on their head, like it was the clip bows that were huge, and they would go on the side of your head, like where your bangs would be. You'd like pin your bangs back, and then you put these giant bows. And I remember that was a huge staple at the middle school I went to. Um, and that was like a huge staple for me was that for sure was just everyone wore those giant bows. And then some people also had the like sports necklaces that were supposed to like give you like energy and power you up and shit like that. The little fucking clip rope necklaces. You guys know what I'm talking about. That was also a big accessory then was that, which I think is crazy. The bows and then like your boyfriend's necklace or your own necklace or things like I just think that's crazy. But that was a huge accessory that I do remember. Um wearing a bit and having a lot of other people that I knew wear them too. It was like the fashion item for sure. What's the most unbelievable thing that's ever happened to you? This life, existing, Conway in general. I think being Conway is so incredibly fun and it's so exciting. I can't wait to see where it goes. I talk more about a lot of the shit in the Becoming Conway episode that I just did, so I don't want to repeat myself. But I would say the most like unbelievable thing that happened recently um was last year. I got Playboy asked me to be on their team, and that's been super fun to do. And I think that's pretty cool that it was actually something I wrote down in my notes app of like, I want to become a Playboy bunny. And I wrote that like years ago. And I've always wanted to be a Playboy bunny. And the fact that Playboy reached out when they first started their Centerfold thing, and I was one of the first 100 people that they invited to be on there. It was really cool to not just like be accepted like randomly like they have now. It was really cool to be accepted in the like asked by them in the moment. Like for them to reach out and say, "Hey, we want you to join." I thought that was super 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 fucking cool. Um that was a big like unbelievable moment. I actually cried because I was just like the fact that Playboy wanted to have representation like me was really fucking cool. And I'm glad to be a little bunny. And I know it's super common now for a lot of people, but it's nice to have been there at the very beginning of it and continue to, link up and do things for Playboy as well. And I hope to do a lot more big things in the future with them as well. So manifesting that, bingo bango. Who's the most important role model? Role model? Who's the most important role model or mentor you've had in your life? Um, I felt like I didn't really have a whole lot of those growing up. I feel like a lot of mine were characters in movies or like people like who had personas. So like I mentioned earlier, Elvira and Dolly Parton. I really loved both of them for the fact of like not just their enormous jugs, but the fact that they were so glamorous, but they had like this wicked set of humor. Um and I always found them just really, really, really fascinating. So I would think they were my role models for sure because I definitely wanted to be like them when I grew up, and I just wanted like I still do. Like I still want to be like them. I think they're just the coolest humans ever. And I think what they've done with everything that they've had in their career and turned it and still have things now, and they're just iconic and memorable. I just think that's so cool. And I could only wish Conway becomes, half of that one day. And it's nuts to see them from the beginning and to watch um just how they've grown, and they're in their fucking 70s and they're still doing the damn thing. Like I just think it's incredible and insane, and those are definitely people I look up to for sure. If you could have any type of animal for a pet, what would it be? Oh, this is an easy question. I want a possum so bad. And Stony wants a pet raccoon. So hopefully sometime Stony can have his pet raccoon and I can have my pet possum. I just think they're adorable. I think the little trash the trash critters are fucking sick. So I think having a raccoon and a possum would be pretty awesome. What games do you miss from when you were a kid? Any and all PC games that I had in the 2000s. Um, I'm really grateful now that a lot of companies have been remaking a lot of the games that are popular because now PC gaming is so um unbelievably huge again. It was always big, but then when consoles came out, like it kind of got pushed to the wayside, and then now PCs are bigger and better than ever. And it's really nice. It's kind of what I do on stream, guys. Is like the only reason I stream is because playing without entertaining or like quote unquote making money from it, I feel like it's a waste of time, and it really sucks because that's just my own growing up trauma issues for sure. I feel like I can't have fun playing games, and I'm working on it. I'm definitely working on it to where I can play offline more, and I realize I'm playing for fun in a sense of like I don't have to always be streaming all the time. I can enjoy a game offline. But one of my favorite things about streaming is be able to share games with you guys, and I love playing a lot of the games that I used to play as a kid. We just started playing Roller Coaster Tycoon on the stream, and it's been so much fun to fucking get back into like tycoon games, whether it's Zoo Tycoon or Tycoon. We've been having a blast playing them on stream. I recently replayed all of the BioShocks. We've played Crash Bandicoot and Spyro on the stream. We have like we'll play the Stony and I will play the old Call of Duty games, but the zombies, and we've been giggling and cackling since then. Like we played tons of newer games and everything like that. But also like the nostalgia of like I'm restarting playing all the Assassin's Creeds, and we play Toontown, um, and just really have fun with bringing the nostalgia back and enjoying it, but also like playing the new games. So I think streaming is so important for me because it's so fun to not only entertain and interact with you guys when you're on stream with me and chatting, it's just a blast because you guys are like enjoying it with me in a sense of like, wow, we haven't seen this game in a long time. It's so nice to like be able to play that. But it's definitely healing my inner child and healing the traumas and stuff I have with like video games and everything. And I'm growing and kind of developing new memories and more fun relating to video games. And it's a blast to be able to do so. I've always been a huge gamer ever since I was little. Would start, with, the console games and uh the Sega Genesis and the Nintendos and, all the little older console games, and now into PCs and then into the Xboxes. And now we're back into PCs playing fucking every game under the sun. It's just a blast. But yeah, if you haven't checked out the stream, you can come hang out on Twitch, YouTube, and I'll sometimes stream to TikTok. But yeah, come hang out on the stream if you haven't watched a session with me and Stony yet. It's fucking hilarious. It's always a great time. All the cowpokes in the chat are great. You guys make it fun. What are your plans for your next vacation? Oh, Stony and I have quite a bit of plans because we haven't been on a vacation or a trip since our wedding, so like 2 years. And we only went to Colorado. And the last time I went on a vacation or a trip was in January of 2020. I went to Italy, and that was right before the pandemic hit. Like literally, we got home 3 weeks later, almost a month later, and then the pandemic started, and all of Italy shut down. It was fucking crazy. And I spent 2 weeks in Italy. I wanna take like it's been a dream of mine to go back to Ireland, and I wanna go back to Ireland around St. Patrick's Day. I don't think anymore I wanna go on St. Patrick's Day because I just seen how crowded and crazy it'll be, but I think, like, going a week early beforehand would be super fun, or, like, leaving right before St. Patrick's Day because it's so crazy and packed and just prices are crazy. But I wanna go to Ireland with Sony so bad. I wanna take him to Ireland and just see everything and just be there. I wanna take him on the Italian trip that I did, and I wanna take him back to London as well, where I've gone. Like, I wanna take him to places that I've gone. We obviously wanna go to Mexico, duh. Stoney's been to Mexico too, but he's never been to Italy, he's never been to England, he's never been to I think he's been to Ireland, like, a little bit, like, for a very, 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 very short time, like a day. Um so yeah, I wanna go back and enjoy that with him. So I think that's the next thing is, like, if we did plan anything, it would be an Ireland trip. That's kinda what we're hoping for, um, and hoping we can do sometime in the future. What is the best household appliance ever invented? For me, it has to be the dishwasher because I didn't have a dishwasher for almost 4 years, and it was absolutely awful. I don't mind doing dishes, I don't mind hand washing things, but, like, after not having a dishwasher for almost 4 years and then moving into this house and having a dishwasher again, it was like, oh my god, it was absolutely amazing. Like, I was so obsessed. Like I was just like I don't complain about doing dishes, like not one bit. I'm like, nope, we got a dishwasher. It's so nice. It's so lovely. So yeah, I would definitely say a dishwasher for sure. That's 100%, no questions asked, a dishwasher. If you were to start a band, what kind of music would you play and what would your band be called? I obviously would do a bluegrass band. And I think I don't even know what I would call it, but it definitely would be a bluegrass band, and that's what I would do. It'd be like Ramblin' and Gamblin' or Ramblin' the Ramble, like it'd be something catchy to where it like sounds like it. Um, but it would definitely be bluegrass, and I would play the banjo, um, and the spoons. That would be like the things that I would want to do if I ever had a band or played music or things like that. Like, that's I can't sing worth shit, so that's out of the question. But yeah, I definitely would do something like that. I think that'd be super fun. If you had to have only one ice cream flavor forever, which one would you choose? 1,000% Rocky Road. I fucking love me some Rocky Road ice cream because not only is it chocolate, you got some nuts in there, you got an almond in there, some almonds. You throw in some marshmallows with it. You got some like chocolate fudge chunks every now and then, depending on what type of Rocky Road you get. But Rocky Road ice cream is so fucking delicious. I could eat it every single time. That or like a fruit sorbet because I'm big on gelato. I love gelato more than I like ice cream. So it would either be like a fruit gelato, like a berry, so like a raspberry, strawberry, blueberry combo kind of thing, like a wild berry combo of gelato, or Rocky Road ice cream. 100% all the way through, easy peasy lemon squeezy. How many 5-year-olds could you fight at the same time? Are the 5-year-olds armed? How tall are these 5-year-olds? Are they all the same size? Are they all the same shape? How much do these 5-year-olds weigh? Can I just like Are they fat little kids where I can just, like, push them over? Are they, like, quick, fast? That question's kinda hard. I don't know, like, I don't know how many 5-year-olds I could fight, but it depends. Like I said, are they armed? Do they have sharp or have their nails been clipped? Are they possessed? That's a fucking difficult question. Also, when I read that online, I thought it was super fucking funny, so I had to include it. That this was on the list of small talk is how many fucking 5-year-olds could you fight? So next time you're starting the small talk with somebody, please ask them how many 5-year-olds they could fight. I think that would be a great small talk conversation. If you owned a bar, what would you call it? That used to be a big dream of mine, was to own a venue. I'm not sure if I have that dream anymore. It's I think that's kind of faded because of just especially when the pandemic hit, just watching venues struggle and still struggle and things are just crazy in general. Um I don't know if I ever would wanna have a bar or venue anymore, but I would call it the Tamed Buffalo. That was my name I picked out for my bar/venue, and that's what I wanted to go with was the Tamed Buffalo, and I thought that was really, really, really cool. So, yeah. What's your favorite thing about holidays? I love holidays. I love a lot of holidays. I think the holiday atmosphere is so fun, and I think the people make the holidays fun. And it's not necessarily people you know, like it's just people celebrating the holiday are what's really fun about the holidays. I love when people get festive. I love when people wear costumes or get into the spirit of things. Like I truly love people going all out for holidays when it comes to like food or music or decorations. I just think the whole atmosphere of holidays are the best. It doesn't have to be family or friends. It literally, I think, is just strangers being festive, like watching people. I'm big on people watching, so I think it's really fun for people to enjoy certain holidays and, like I said, just go balls to the wall of with just like decor. I think that's always really fun. And even just like I said, just food, especially when it comes to like foods or dinners, breakfasts, lunches, things like that. When you just have like a whole itinerary of things to do for the holidays, I think that shit's such a fucking blast. But yeah, people make the holidays. Strangers make the holidays. We're not gonna, no family or friends. Strangers make the holidays. What kind of party do you like most? I love this question. I love a party that has a lot of food. Has like a spread, like a grazing table. I fucking love grazing tables. I love a party with food. I like dinner parties. I'm not big on like clubs or like bars that much anymore. I don't think they're as fun as a dinner party where you're bringing food over and everyone else is bringing food over, or you're like cooking for people and then you play like board games afterwards and you guys are like laughing till your fucking side hurts. Like I love dinner parties. I think they're fucking great. Um Invite me to your guys' dinner parties, please, because I do enjoy a good dinner party, especially if you play games afterwards, like card games or just stupid, hilarious shit. I love that shit. It's so fun. Love a good dinner party. Snacks, food, an environment to like not a crowded environment. Like I want to have space. I don't want to feel claustrophobic. I want to not feel like there's a lot of people in the room. I want it to feel cozy as well. Like I said, home environment dinner party thing is very nice for me. If you could use magic to do one mundane task for the rest of your life, what would it be? Uh a snap of my fingers and all the dog hair in my entire house is gone at any moment in time. Cause holy fuck, having two big giant German shepherds, they shed so much. And if you have dogs that shed, you guys know what I'm talking about. Like that you could sweep. I literally could sweep. And 1 hour later, I'll vacuum the whole house. And 1 hour later, there's piles of hair where I just swept. And I'm just like, oh my God, when will it fucking ever end? And it's just like it gets on your clothes, and just everywhere. And it's ugh. The dog hair, if I could, that would be my magic trick, was to just the dog hair is just cleaned up constantly. I don't want to get a Roomba and shit like that because then it's like in crevices you can't get to, like little corners of behind a little thing in the house, and the dog hair. That would be my thing. Just having dog hair dissipate every time it falls off the dog. It's definitely like 3 a.m. now. I've been talking for like an hour. I have a couple more questions left. 2 more questions left. So we're on question 29. If you could make the ultimate sandwich, what would it be? I love a good long sub, like a long bread. Long bread, lots of Italian meats. I'm talking any of the Italian meats, slap them on. All the Italian cheeses, slap it on. Gotta have lettuce. 1,000% got to have lettuce and spinach on it. Salt and pepper. Give me some like olive oil, balsamic vinaigrette, some sort of like Italian dressing with it too. You know, like that whatever would be on a normal Italian sandwich. Oh my God. I don't mind Italian mayonnaise. When I was in Italy, I loved like most of all the gas stations are pretty much the same. The petrol stations that they have over there, and they always have like food courts in a sense. Like their fucking shit is top notch. Um and I really enjoyed the sandwiches they have, even though they had mayo on it. It's way different than American mayo. You guys know I just said I hate fucking mayonnaise, so I was so skeptical to try it, but it was actually pretty decent. So I wouldn't mind some like, Italian mayo. If not, that's fine. But like, yeah, olive oil, balsamic vinaigrette, or a vinegar. Um, Maybe a little dab of do a ranch I put ranch on my sandwiches because I don't like mayonnaise, so ranch, a little bit of that. Um, and that's solid for me. Maybe some cucumbers if I'm feeling it. Usually I don't get tomatoes because I feel like the tomato waters makes the bread wet more, and it's just like too watery with all the meats. So yeah, just tons of Italian meat, tons of Italian cheeses. Load me up with some fucking lettuce and some, dressings on top, salt and pepper, toasted, good to go. Sometimes it doesn't got to be toasted, but you know what I mean. That's my fucking sandwich. All right. Last question. What secret conspiracy? All right. Last question. Question 30. What secret conspiracy theory do you think might be true? My favorite conspiracy theory, Stoney and I are going to do 2 whole episodes on them. We just love them. We love the theories so much. I think they're so cool to think about, and they're just wild, but we'll do those probably, sometime this fall. My favorite is the hollow earth theory and the hollow moon theory. If you guys have never heard of those, please feel free to look them up or do a YouTube deep dive, whatever you feel like it. I think it's crazy. I think theories are or conspiracy theories are just can be wacky and crazy and absolutely like not real. You're just batshit crazy type. And then there's some that are like believable where you're like, yeah, that'd be sick if that was true. These are the ones that I think Stone and I believe that we think would be sick if they were like true. If they found out 100% true that they were not theories anymore and they were actual facts. Hollow Earth theory and hollow moon theory are just mind blowing to me, and I'm just like, yep, absolutely. Um, and the also the theory that if you go deep enough into the ocean, like down in the ocean, you basically go to the center of the earth. I think that shit's so fucking wild too. Like, oh, I love a good conspiracy theory about like space or the universe. I think that shit's super cool and fun. Like I said, if it's like believable in a sense of like you're not a fucking whack job, um, shit like that. But yeah, those are two things Stoney and I are gonna do separate videos on sometime this fall. We're gonna have fun with it because Stoney loves talking about those two conspiracy theories and conspiracy theories in general, but like those are two of his faves and those are my faves too. So yeah, I can't wait to do that for you guys. But I think this is where I'll stop. I ran out of questions. We did 30 questions. I hope you guys enjoyed me rambling and answering these wild questions and you guys got to know a little bit more about me, or it felt like you were doing a little interview in a sense, things like that. Some other time I'll get your guys's like, your questions from you. These are just random ones I took off the internet. You know how it goes. But yeah, it is, I think, time for me to go to bed now. And I had my 2 a.m. brain going, and now it's a 3 a.m. brain. So, yeah, if you guys want to know more, feel free to always ask me questions. I'm always down to answer a bunch of them. But if you'd like to follow Stony on any platforms, you can at Stony Robbins. On anything. Maybe there's an underscore underneath it, but that's where you can find Stony. You guys can find me at conwaytitty.com. That is Conway, TITTY.com. That has all my links if you want to come hang out on the streams, play the games that we've been talking about, or just go to my other pages, and it's all right there. Just literally conwaytitty.com. But I appreciate you guys, making it all the way through the episode. If you guys know by this time, we're some good episodes in. At the end of every episode, I leave a secret passcode, and the secret passcode this week is just a question mark. You can just leave question marks in the comments if you get to this far. You can send them to me privately. We like reading them. We think it's fun. But other than that, I think that's where I'm going to end with you guys. So I hope you guys have a good day or night or wherever you are listening to this. If I'm, droning you on to sleep and you're listening to me before bed, I hope you have very sweet dreams. Mwah, 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 mwah. Have dreams. Mwah, mwah. Good dreams. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Let me tuck you in at night. Oh, God. Okay. I think I need to stop. All right. You guys have a good day, night, wherever you are. Stay hydrated. Get some rest. Don't forget to eat. And I will see you on the next one. All right. All right. Bye-bye.